Hello everyone. Today we'll be bringing you a review of the Uni-Ball Gel Impact RT retractable gel ink rollerball pen. This is in bold point, 1.0 millimeters, in black ink. So let's get started. This pen is another pen that features Uni-Ball's Uni Super Ink. It's specially formulated ink that becomes trapped in the paper and helps prevent against check fraud and other document alterations. So this is a good pen to use if you don't want, run any risk of fraud or any risk of somebody trying to check wash anything you write, things like that. Take a look at the pen. It has kind of a cool checkerboard pattern on here. Rubberized comfort grip, feels pretty good in your hand. It is retractable. Retracting mechanism feels good. It also features a spring-loaded clip that automatically retracts when you clip it onto your pocket or pretty much clip the pen onto anything. Pretty neat. It is refillable. Just unscrew right here, midway up the barrel. Refill is right here. Spring will be inside, so just be careful for that. You can either just keep it on there or keep it in the tip. Let's see how it writes. One thing this pen advertises and kind of uses as a selling point is its very bold lines that stand out, and they most definitely do. Extremely, extremely bold text here. I mean, it literally just jumps out on the paper at you. It's some of the boldest text I've ever seen. However, the only drawback to that is it seems like it makes this really bold, dark text by using a ton of ink, and that does have a tendency to make it blob a good bit. As you can see here, we got a really big blob there. We got a few as we turn these lines here. Sometimes when you first touch your pen down to the paper, you'll get a blob. I did a little bit right there. If you're making like a sweeping curve, doing like a 180-degree turn with the pen, you're going to get blobs. So I was a little disappointed in that. I mean, the bold lines are great, and they're exactly what you want for this pen. It's what it's made to do. Basically, it is the gel impact. But I was a little bit disappointed that it, wound up coming out kind of that so much ink came out that it kind of blobbed up there like that. Especially considering it is Uni-Ball's the Uni Super Ink, so they do recommend for using it on checks, any kind of official documents, things like that. I feel like that's a little bit counterproductive to what you want it to be used for. Having so much ink and just kind of flooding over the paper like that. I did find just inadvertently I would get it on my fingers every now and then. But you cannot argue with the fact that it looks great. We got some intermittent skipping here and there. Not a ton. Which again is a little bit odd considering the ink also kind of tends to come out heavy and blob up a little bit. As you can see, as we're writing these plus signs here, since we're picking up the pen from the paper a lot and putting it right back down, it we get like a blob at first, and then as it trails off, it kind of starts to skip and fade out a little bit. Let's see how it does with the smear test. 1 second. Absolutely terrible. I was really surprised with that. I can barely use the same finger again. So I have to try another one now. Let's do 2 seconds. Just about as bad. I'm going to run out of fingers here real soon. 3 seconds. 4. And 5. You can see a little bit of skipping there. As you can see, even waiting up to 5 seconds, we still got a significant amount of smearing. And again, I was surprised with this. It's kind of really all over my fingers now. I was surprised with this because since this is Uni-Ball's ink that does kind of get trapped in the paper there, I didn't expect this much smearing. I think, again, the issue is it's just there's so much ink coming out and it needs a kind of a significant amount of time to dry. Can't really do any smear tests with this hand again, but if I look up here, well, got a little bit of ink on myself there, but we'll still get a little bit of smearing even on the older ink. Let's see how it did with a little more long-term writing. Again, we find more of the same. Really dark, really bold text that just kind of jumps out at you and looks fantastic on the page. But, you know, we do get that blobbing and smearing issues that we had when we just wrote a few seconds ago. And we did a smear test for a little longer here. It took about up to 15 seconds before we really could eliminate most, if not all of it. We'll see how it does now. So as you can see, once it dries, and all those blobs especially dry, yeah, it's pretty much in there. I mean, now I'm pushing down as hard as I can. I don't want to touch it with any of the other ink. And it won't go anywhere. It just seems to be a very, very slow drying ink. And again, just the quantity of ink that comes out can kind of just take a really long time to get absorbed. I can't really give you an exact figure of how many seconds it takes to dry because it depends if you get a big blob or not. But you know, if you're writing with this, you definitely do not want to try and touch it right away. You want to give this a good bit of time to dry. So it's sort of, it can do what it's advertised to do in that you know, it's good for, you know, permanent ink that gets you know, trapped in the paper, and is good for writing checks and things like that. It's just if you're going to write something, you want to give it, let it sit for like a minute or so, and if you notice a lot of blobs of ink, let it sit even a little longer than that before you kind of go handling it or touching it or putting it away or everything. And because as you can see, if you touch the ink, fingers got full of ink there. I mean, given I was purposely trying to smear it, but still, yeah, I wouldn't expect that much. That was pretty much the worst smear test results I've done of any pen to date. So overall, it is a good pen for what it is. It promises on its claim of delivering a really vibrant, bold text that jumps out at you. The Uni-Ball Uni Super Ink does what it's supposed to do and becomes trapped in the paper, and does you know, once you give it enough time, you know, won't smear or anything like that, isn't able to be washed out. It's just the only downsides to the pen are the fact that it's so bold that so much ink comes out, because you tend to get the little bit of blobbing along with a little bit of skipping. Which, let me show you here. We didn't get much, and it's actually probably a little hard to see here, but as we were writing, like, we would get a blob and then a little bit of a skip, and that would kind of happen a little bit consistently here and there, but it's not too noticeable because, again, this ink is so dark and bold. And then again, obviously the other drawback is just the amount of time it takes for it to dry off, because you really have to be very careful not to touch it within, I'd say, a good 30 seconds to a minute, depending on how much you're pressing down on the paper and how thick you're writing. So that's the verdict. Thanks for watching.